Now say hi, Joey only. Say hi, Joey only. Say hi, Joey only. Say hi, Joey only. I'm Frankie Del. You're listening to Comedeorological Weather Report every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Atlantic. And Joey only airs on this YouTube channel, Terrible Weather Tool, Comedian Plus Meteorology. Joey only Terrible Weather Tool on Friday evenings Atlantic, Friday afternoons in Pacific. Joey only's a really nice guy. I'm on his podcast every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Atlantic. And Joey only lives in Wells, British Columbia, fights fighters in Wells, British Columbia. He's a big fan of Prince George Cougars Western Hockey League team. He used to work for Vancouver Giants Western Hockey League. It's alongside with Imogen Cookie Bailey, Brandon Helk, Joe Silver, and all those guys. It's on CFUR 88.7 FM in Prince George, CKUW 95.9 FM in Winnipeg, the CFBX 92.5 FM in Kamloops. It's on Rogers TV in Vancouver Island. And Joey only's a really nice guy. I'm on this podcast. I talk about weather reports, things like this. Best luck there. I'm Frank Del. You listen to Joey only show every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Atlantic. See you then.
Well, whether it's hot, whether it's cold, whether it's hot, Frankie's got the weather we've got. Wait a minute. Well, whether it's cold, whether it's hot, Frankie's got the weather, whether or not. There it is.
Hello, Prince George. Listeners at C for 88.7 FM. Hello, CKUW 95.9 in Winnipeg. Greetings, Kamloops 92.5 CFBX. And hello, Rogers television watchers out there in Vancouver Island, where you are most assuredly going to get very, 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 very wet. It's the Atmospheric River Special. First big storm of the year down to the south coast. The worst weather in all Canada is going to be happening. Well, maybe Nunavut's going to have a little try at it, but I think BC is going to probably take the cake this weekend for the worst weather in Canada. That's a Comedeorological report. It's Comedy Plus Meteorology, your show about how much the weather sucks in Canada. I am Joey Only, your host here in Wells, British Columbia, up at 3,935 feet above sea level in the Caribou Mountains. That's right. I'm here with my panel of Comedeorologists. Frankie McDonald as well, the star of the show out there in Sydney, Nova Scotia. We'll be there with him in a couple minutes. And we've also got a special guest tonight who has been helping me out, and I can't wait to talk to him some more. But we're gonna introduce you quickly here, Tim, before we get to Frankie. Tim Conrad, he runs Butterfly Effect Communications. He's been an information officer for all kinds of wildfires, floods, and different episodes like that around British Columbia. Communications is his specialty. Welcome to the show, Tim Conrad.
Thanks very much, Joey. It's good to be here.
Yeah, talk to us about your summer this year. What you saw in BC and beyond.
Well, I had a pretty slow summer this year, but I did get to see that big Chilcotin landslide, at least from a virtual perspective, and do some work with that. And funny enough, earlier in the year, I had my first flood in January that I helped out in Pemberton. So I've had disasters now in all 12 months of the year except for December. So we'll see what happens this year if I check that one off. But yeah, this year has been a little bit lighter for me on getting out there to emergencies, but definitely had some projects on the go that trying to get people ready for them.
That was very much my experience this summer. Was I think I only had like 35 fire days, but I got to be here for the fire here, so there was some things that were really close to my heart, even though I'd consider it a dead season. It was kind of a good one, like Frankie! You want your warriors to love war. That's how the show goes. Frankie McDonald, how you doing so far out there?
I'm doing great so far. The big story is there's a big storm heading for Churchill, Manitoba. High winds and warm temperatures. Those Rankin Inlet, Nunavut, and Baker Lake, Nunavut temperatures going to be warmer than normal. And Rankin Inlet with a lot of rain and wind in the forecast, and very, very strong winds gusting up to 100 kilometers per hour, like Rankin Inlet, Nunavut, and Baker Lake, Nunavut, and all those places. And Churchill, Manitoba was just over his head. Then it goes ahead, and Nunavut's going to get high winds and heavy snow. Then they got a snowstorm headed towards Whitehorse on Friday, October 18, 2024. It's going to bring 10 to 20 centimeters of snow in Whitehorse, Yukon territory, Watson Lake, Yukon. Watson Lake is going to bring up to 10 to 20 centimeters of snow in Watson Lake, Yukon. It's going to bring cold temperatures. It's going to get really cold up in Yukon territory on Monday. That's going to drive the cold air all the way down to interior BC. It's going to bring the atmospheric river with a whole lot of rain in Vancouver, British Columbia, Victoria, British Columbia, including Port Renfrew, soaked, including Duncan, British Columbia, Ladysmith, Sandwich, British Columbia, Colwood, British Columbia, Nanaimo, British Columbia, Parksville, British Columbia, Cormacon Beach, British Columbia, Port Alberni, British Columbia, Tofino, British Columbia, including Courtney and Comox, British Columbia, including Campbell River, Port McNeil, Port Hardy, British Columbia, along the Highway 19. It's going to bring a lot of rain. It's going to last through Saturday, October 19th, Sunday, October 20th, 2024, because the atmospheric river in British Columbia is going to bring a whole lot of rain in the west coast of Canada. They got really warm temperatures heading for Ontario next week, in Michigan and Wisconsin and Minnesota, even North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas gonna get really hot next week. That means the rest on Tuesday, then they got a brief cool down in Cape Breton Island, and Sydney, Nova Scotia, and mainland remains warm, and Cape Breton gets cooler. It's gonna bring colder temperatures in Vancouver, British Columbia, and on Tuesday, Cape Breton will be the only cool spot. Ontario is going to be really warm next week as well, because the high pressure system is anchored over east coast, eastern United States of America. It's going to bring some cooler temperatures to Washington State and Oregon and all those places. It's going to bring really dry weather in California as well, and hot temperatures in Arizona. Gary and Dino is it. And Los Angeles is going to get really hot temperatures, including Sacramento, San Diego, San Francisco.
Is it like not only is Gary and Dino's show tougher than us, but they're also funnier and more popular.
Salton Sea, California. That's where Gary and Dino is going the day after Halloween. Gary and Dino's heading for Salton Sea, California.
Gary and Dino, I like those guys.
Gary and Dino's have an event at Salton Sea, California, around November 1st and 2nd and 3rd, 2024. On November 2nd, Gary and Dino will be in Salton Sea.
You know who else is on the show with us tonight? Of course, Brandon Houck out there in Brooks, Alberta. He's on a marathon, Frankie, where he hasn't slept in 6 days. He's just doing radio all the time. So he's here. Meteorologist Mark Ingalls is with us, Frankie, and he's cooking right now Canadian spam, because now that he's moved to Canada, he's trying to eat all the Canadian things. And I told him that Canadian maple spam is not a Canadian thing, but he insists to try it anyways. And we encourage this on the show. This will be fun. And the cowboy himself, Hilding Donaldson, is checking in from Grassy Plains, Frankie.
And the weather for Amazon rainforest. There's a lot of thunderstorms and rain going on in Amazon rainforest in Brazil. Brazil's just entering the rainy season right now. Lots of rain, thunderstorms in Venezuela, Panama, Mexico, part of southern Mexico, Guatemala, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Nicaragua, and Honduras, and Panama, and all those places in Colombia, parts of Ecuador, parts of Bolivia. They're going to get a lot of rain and wind, a lot of rain and thunderstorms there. So it's parts of northern Peru, in southern Chile. There's a lot really, really dry weather in northern Chile right now. In southern Chile, it's getting warmer down southern Chile because southern hemisphere summer starts on December 21st. Lots of rain and thunderstorms coming off the closest northern Argentina and southern Brazil. In Falkland Islands, it's cooler air right now. Still pretty cold. And Lucia, Argentina, and it's snow up in the mountains in southern Chile and rain in the coastal areas in southern Chile as well. Antarctica will still be 24-hour daylight. Up around the United Kingdom, looks like a powerful storm is heading towards the United Kingdom on Sunday. It's going to bring high winds and heavy rain and snow up in the mountains and things like this in the United Kingdom. And lots of rain and wind up and around Norway, the coastal areas of Norway, snow up in the mountains, including Finland, Sweden as well. Lots of rain and thunderstorms going on in France and parts of northern Spain. And lots of rain and thunderstorms going on in Italy, Switzerland, and Austria. Going to head towards Germany, Denmark, Netherlands. And Poland's drier than normal. So is Belarus and Moscow, Russia. Lots of rain and thunderstorms going on in northern Turkey as of right now. It's really dry in western Russia right now. It's really dry in Croatia with chance of showers and forecasts, including Bosnia, all the other places like Bosnia, Croatia, and Albania. And Greece is drier than normal, and southern Turkey drier than normal. It's really dry in Morocco, Algeria, Libya, and Egypt right now. They got some rain and forecast in parts of Algeria and Libya right now. And I got something else to say. Western Pacific is lots of rain and thunderstorms going on and coming off the coast of South Korea, North Korea, Vladivostok, Russia. Then they got cold air heading towards Vladivostok, Russia. Then they got a cold front heading to northern Japan. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain in northern Japan and Tokyo, Japan on Saturday. Lots of rain, thunderstorms going in Tokyo, Japan, Sapporo, Japan, and all those places. There's a typhoon heading towards bypassing Taiwan. It could be heading towards Japan later next week possible. That could change.
Who has the worst weather in the world, Frankie?
Who has the worst weather in the world then? Is it them?
It could be Japan next week.
Oh my God, Japan.
Oh my God, in Japan. Japan possible unless it changes course. And down in Hong Kong is right now. Oh my God, in Japan.
What else you got, Frankie?
For Hong Kong, the weather there right now is it's really dry in Hong Kong right now. Lots of rain thunderstorms going on in Indonesia, Philippines, Cambodia, Thailand, parts of Vietnam, Laos, and Bangladesh and Myanmar. India is getting into the dry season, getting close to dry season. Monsoon season's dying down in India. Lots of rain thunderstorms in southern India. Then it got a cyclone aiming it towards parts of Bangladesh and eastern India next week, possible. There's a cyclone heading for eastern India next week. It's going to be dry in Delhi, India. It's gradually dying down as monsoon season's gradually dying down the rest of India. Up around the Middle East, the weather up around the Middle East is really dry in Saudi Arabia, in our Arab Emirates. The chance of showers in the forecast in Qatar and Yemen and those places, and Ethiopia is still finishing up the rainy season there right now. Lots of rain thunderstorms going on in Nigeria and Ghana and all those places right now still in the rainy season there.
Wasn't there a flood in the Sahara Desert, Frankie?
Yes, it was. It was really bad. There's a lot of flooding going on in the Sahara Desert and lots of showers and rain going on in South Africa right now. And Namibia and up in Angola is entering the rainy season. And Botswana is gradually entering the rainy season. Still really dry in Botswana, Mozambique, Madagascar, La Reunion, Mauritius Islands. There's soon be the rainy season. Still dry with some showers for now. Down in Perth, Australia. Cold, got some showers in the forecast in Perth, Australia. And Western Australia. Then it got some really hot temperatures in Central Australia. Lots of thunderstorms and rain going on in Southeastern Australia. And rain in Tasmania. And lots of thunderstorms and rain going on in Southeastern Australia. Possible hailstorms and things like this and large hail.
All the severe thunderstorm warnings that are on my radar scope right now are for Australia. Nothing in the United States or Canada. All Australia.
This is their spring in the year now.
It's hail season.
Hail season there right now. There's a still really dry New Zealand. They got some weather hitting for New Zealand later on next week and rain in the forecast in North Island, New Zealand, South Island, New Zealand, including Auckland, New Zealand, Hamilton, New Zealand, Gisborne, New Zealand, Wellington, New Zealand, Plymouth, New Zealand, Nelson, New Zealand. It's going to bring lots of rain in northern South Island, New Zealand, and some showers in the forecast in for Cargill, New Zealand. It's going to bring rain later on the week in for Cargill, New Zealand, Christchurch, Queenstown, and Dundee, New Zealand during the spring of the year. Around November 18th and November 19th, the last sunset takes place up above the Arctic Circle. That's November 18th and November 19th.
What would happen, Frankie, if Australia got hit by a hailstone as big as the moon?
Total destruction of the planet.
Total destruction. Frankie, this is Tim Conrad.
Hi, Tim. I'm doing great so far. I'm a YouTuber from Sydney, Nova Scotia, Canada.
Frankie, it's nice to meet you, man. I'm actually a fan of yours. So I'm from Bridgewater, Nova Scotia originally. So
yes,
I know of you a long time ago. So it's
and guess what? I was doing a
awesome
video
to meet you.
I was doing a video about light bulbs, changing out 60 million different colors. And it's good for people working in offshore oil rigs, Antarctic research stations, and remote areas up above the Arctic Circle, especially 24-hour darkness. 60 million colors, changing light bulbs in all different colors. That's good for them. Like people up north, people in oil tankers and oil ships and things like this, and cruise ships. People living in remote areas up in Siberia, Svalbard, Norway, and in northern Norway, northern Finland, northern Sweden, and Iceland and Greenland and Nunavut, Northwest Territories, and Barrow, Alaska, and Nome, Alaska, and all those places. Color changing light bulbs is a great thing for all those people up north and things like this. They use because people get really, 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 really depressed when it's 24-hour darkness up there.
We will be watching your video about the light bulbs that change 16 million different colors tonight, Frankie.
Yes.
Tim, can you explain to Frankie what you do as an information officer?
Yeah, I get information out to the public on emergencies. So I work at what's called the Emergency Operations Center, which is where all of everything is coordinated with whatever emergency is going on. And my job is to collect information from the community as well as from the people I'm working with, and share that across people and get the information out to residents and of course back to our people that are working in staff.
Hey Zoe, I'm going to show you something. When the lights change different colors.
Okay, here we go. Lights are going to change different colors. Anyone got questions for Frankie and his changing
There's the
colors?
order.
Frankie, look at this. I also have a color changing light.
Meteorologist Mark has a color changing light.
You see this here? It's green now, and now it's orange. Frankie, you inspired me.
Can it change 16 million different colors, Mark?
No, it's from IKEA, so it changes to various shades of blue and yellow. But then, other than that, you just get the main colors.
What color you got there, Frankie?
The light bulbs changing all different colors. 60 million colors.
60 million colors.
16 million colors.
16 million.
Yeah, don't
counting?
oversell it, Joey.
I
Well,
want to
you
know
know,
who,
after
who
10
counted.
million, I would have lost count anyways. I would have been like, okay, there's obviously, I'm not going to
Those
spend
are all
20
the-
years of my life counting
Those are the light
colors.
bulbs that change all different colors. That's good for people up north in remote areas and offshore rigs and Antarctic research stations.
That's what I need, Frankie. I need to see different colors.
Light bulbs that change all different colors.
Those are pretty cool.
Anyone got questions for Frankie and his color changing light bulbs?
Frankie, how many moon sharks are going to come to Surrey this weekend with the atmospheric river?
A lot. It might have had sharks on Mars once upon a time.
You heard it here first.
Big waves crashing on the beaches.
Yeah.
Brandon, you got a question for Frankie before we move on?
Frankie, what's your favorite color of light?
All different colors. Millions of colors changing. That means that especially people up north. And when it gets 24-hour darkness. And down Antarctic research stations during the southern hemisphere winter. Like Mike Post and all those guys and Marty Jordan of Antarctic research stations. They need a light bulbs to change 16 million colors.
16 million colors. That's Frankie McDonald and his 16 million colors. We only got to see about 6,000 of them, but we have time still in the episode. The Brandon Hauk Report.
The Brandon Hauk Report.
Oh, hi. This is the Brandon Hauk Report.
This guy, you're worn down, the Hauk. You're worn down. Today was a big hockey game, though.
Yes, I found it out. Michael's not going to be on Meteorological Weather Report tonight because his social media got hacked.
Oh, no.
Oh, so I've been on a roll here, and I haven't stopped for the last 24 hours, so bear with me. So yeah, last night we had the hockey game at 8 o'clock Mountain Daylight Time, and because they're playing in Chilliwack, BC, on the Lower Mainland there, and for the BCHL showcase, and tomorrow they're going to be in Langley, take on the Rivermen, by the way. So that's going to be an 8:15 start, but yeah, last night winning 1-0. I didn't get home till probably after 11 a.m. from last night's game, and then back up at 3 a.m. to do the morning show this morning for the weather side of things. And then right after that morning show, once I got that farmer's forecast done, I bustled my way to the radio station and did another hockey game at 2 o'clock this afternoon, and that was an intense hockey game. And we took, Brooks Bandits won that one in a shootout against who did we? I think we played Coquitlam. Yeah, Coquitlam Express. And that was like 3-2 in a shootout. And that game just ended at about 4:30. So, yeah, I pretty much just got back from this, turned on the computer, and here I am. Full of energy. And then I got another hockey game tomorrow, as I mentioned, at 8:15 p.m. and a morning show as well. So yeah, that's probably why I'll probably slip out maybe after Mark tries to spam, just saying. But anyways, we'll talk about the weather story, because the weather in the last week here has been, actually up and down, as typical kind of October weather. A couple days you get a couple cool days, you get a couple warm days as well. Last week I judged karaoke, and it was very nice weather outside. Could have pretty much walked home from that if I wanted to, but it was midnight. So that was probably not the best idea, you know. But somebody won karaoke and they were really good at singing. The other singers at the karaoke last week were terrible. Just saying. Hopefully they're not watching this show. Now, anyways, as we move on into this week here, we've had, as they say, lots of sunshine, not much in the way of weather, a little bit of strong winds there last weekend, but nothing too significant. And now as we go on into next week, well, some of the biggest weather stories, as we've mentioned, the atmospheric river pushing onto the coast sections of BC. That's going to impact our weather greatly in the next couple of days. And then we've got the first blizzard of the season for parts of Nunavut expected for tomorrow. So that's going to be up in the Goja Haven area there. Now, the atmospheric river that's going to be impacting us is going to be bringing in textbook Chinook conditions, downsloping winds, as you know. So you get the heavy rains on the BC coast, the warm Pacific air going over the mountains, and there's your downsloping winds that could gust over 100 kilometers an hour. Especially off the foothills there on Saturday morning. And that's going to push temperatures back to the 20s for us. So we're going to enjoy the nice warm weather while British Columbia takes us on the chin with all the rain and significant amounts of rain over the coming days there. Well, Alberta is going to be on the dry side. But that doesn't last very long as the area of low pressure, one of the area of low pressures, moves in out of BC into Alberta. And this system itself is going to bring in, well, a big adjustment to the weather pattern here. So we're going to start off the week near 20 degrees. And Monday, we're going to see a 20-degree drop in parts of the province. We're going to see snow developing in areas in around Hinton up to Grand Prairie, and areas near Hinton and Grand Cache areas. They could be in for significant snowfall amounts. Possibly Monday. I saw the latest model trends going 20 to 30 centimeters of snow, possibly in those areas in the northwestern corner of the province early next week. Meanwhile, for us here in the south, we'll probably get a couple of snow showers, so I don't expect much in the way of any significant accumulation, but a big drop in temperature. So from 20-degree temperatures to single-digit temperatures Monday into Tuesday of next week, and looks like we'll start off on the cool side and kind of remain that way for most of next week, and maybe jump back up again afterwards. Now, some of the records that were broken that I saw online this week, one of them was a 16-year-old kid who climbed 14 mountain peaks in the last 2 years. Like, what was I doing 16 years? Definitely not climbing 14 mountain peaks in the last 2 years there. And another record.
Some years.
Yeah, that's wild. And another record, 507 people in Japan broke a world record for just standing there and pointing at the sky like that. And they broke a record for 507 people there. So that's I have to say, that's quite the accomplishment. But I think we can all do better than that here. Now that we found out that you can break a world record for that. And I found out also that
talentless records.
That's right. Big records, big records to be broken around here. Rocker
Talentless
Flea,
records.
and he turned 62 this week, celebrated with his brothers Tick and Ringworm. There you go.
You forgot about
That's
the record that the Comet broke this week. Comet Sushinshan Atlas broke a record for having the most pointlessly bizarre name that's difficult to say.
So that's why they call it Comet A3 or something like that. Comet A3, kind of like from Star Wars, Comet A3.
Well, we're in Alberta, Brandon. So this summer, you got to be the voice during the fire in Jasper.
Oh.
And you had that experience. And Tim, he's had an experience for a very, very famous fire that happened in Alberta, especially that was somewhat like that. I just wanted you guys to maybe touch base on this a little. For example, talk about the Fort McMurray fire, talk about the Jasper fires.
I've taken kind of controls of severe weather coverage on radio stations across the province. And whenever something goes wild, I decide, okay, I'm going to put out an emergency cart because I can do that now over what we call a wide orbit system here. So I can jump on this microphone that you see right here and do a little, pretty much a broadcast and cover any type of severe weather. And it was about 9 o'clock there. Yeah, I'd say 9, 10 o'clock. Yeah, actually just after 10 o'clock p.m. there. The night when they had the evacuation order issued, and I saw that come out over my phone. And I said, okay, we got evacuation. And I said to the boss, we got to get this emergency card. Okay, you can do it. All right, I'll do it. So I jumped on and on this microphone here, did that emergency card up and sent it along to their station that covers out of Hinton, that covers Jasper National Park, and pretty much had the evacuation of, mentioned that Jasper's being evacuated and had that going all through the night there on that emergency cart. So yeah, that was quite a experience, that is for sure.
So Tim, talk to us about your experience there with Fort McMurray and other fires like that in Alberta.
Yeah, so I actually wasn't in Fort McMurray, but some of my team members were back then. And I was actually, at the time, I was a County of Grand Prairie firefighter on the side. I was doing that part-time. And we weren't allowed to actually leave to go help in Fort McMurray because we had the almost identical conditions as what they had at the time. So we were, into that sort of what you hear out of the States, red flag warning sort of situation. Yeah, I will talk about one fire that I was not there for, but I knew exactly what was happening just by the smell of the smoke. And Slave Lake, when Slave Lake burnt down, all the smoke came up to Grand Prairie. And we didn't even know there was a fire going down in Slave Lake at that point in time. And I was out running around and got out of my vehicle. I could smell all the smoke. It was very thick at that point, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's a community burning down somewhere. And that's the reality. Like, I become accustomed to those types of things. What the difference between just wildfire burning and wildfire with structures in it.
When it's toxic as opposed to sweet smelling and nice.
Yeah. And even if it's a few 100 kilometers away, I can tell you the difference between the two. So that year was quite spectacular. I know with us in the county of Grand Prairie, we went nonstop that year. I was not home very much because I would leave my day job, go to the fire hall, spend the night there, and would get home midnight, 2:00, and get some rest. And it was an absolutely brutal year, but we lucked out that year. Unfortunately, 2 years ago in Grand Prairie, they had a pretty rough year with my department being the central one. So that's that helmet that's hanging right there. Was from the county of Grand Prairie. So
we'll come back and talk to you some more in a minute. I want to jump over to meteorologist Mark. We got the atmospheric river going on. Give us the skinny there, Mark, and then show us the spam.
Yes, I have the spam. It's ready to go in my waffle sandwich here. I'm very excited. My daughter already tried some. She was adamant that she wasn't going to have any, and then she came out and was like, "I want to try some spam," and it passed her test. So, 4-year-olds like maple spam. So we'll see how we're doing. But
I do that too with the kids. You feed it to them first, and if they're still alive after 10 minutes, then I try it.
I might take a bite of this and then maybe put some Tabasco on it or something. But the atmospheric river is the big story. What we're going to have when we talk about an atmospheric river, we've got a column of moisture that is pointed straight at one region for more than 24 hours. This is going to be more like 60 hours, 2.5 days. We're going to start getting the rain here in the lower mainland midday tomorrow, and it's not going to stop until Sunday evening. And it's going to be beautiful because this is what I moved to Vancouver for, guys, is this kind of rain.
That's what I left Vancouver from.
Yes. Good riddance to all the rain haters. But what we're looking at is the low pressure system that I think Frankie mentioned about the big snowstorm up in Northwest Territories or Yukon or whatever,
or Whitehorse, Yukon, Lake Yukon.
That's right. That low pressure system is going to bring a frontal boundary over southwestern British Columbia, and it's just going to park. And so all the moisture on the south side of this frontal boundary is just going to keep coming into the lower mainland and Vancouver Island for 2.5 days. We're looking at rainfall totals. We're probably going to see numerous rainfall totals on Vancouver Island above 100 millimeters. We're going to have a lot of rainfall totals above 100 millimeters in the lower mainland, probably closer to the North Slope Mountains where I'm at, just outside White Rock. We might hit 100 millimeters. I think we may even see isolated values of 200 millimeters along the North Shore Mountains there as we get that lift from the mountains and it provides heavier rain. It's going to be widespread, steady rain everywhere. but it's going to be more rain up by the mountains. I've seen a lot of concerns about in reference to the 2021 floods, when of course we had major flooding down here in the lower mainland and across the border in Whatcom County. Major highways were wiped out. Sumas Prairie became a lake again. I don't really think that's going to happen. That event in 2021 was multiple atmospheric rivers over the course of 3 weeks. And we have this one. We had a lot of rain last weekend over Thanksgiving, but it's not nearly as much. Or this event, these back-to-back events are not nearly as much as what happened in 2021. Additionally, that was in November and December. There was a lot more snow in the mountains to rain on and melt off. And there was a lot more moisture already in the soil. So we'll probably have some minor flooding, low-lying spots that typically get ponding will have ponding. I wouldn't be surprised to see a few isolated landslides. And then the other story is it'll be a little bit breezy Friday night into Saturday, but some of the models are hinting at a really good, we call it a meso low, just a small low pressure system sweep up the frontal boundary. And that could bring some spicy weather on Sunday, but the jury's kind of still out on that. And by the time you hear us next week, we'll be talking about some other disaster. I promised my dad I'd mention War Road, Minnesota. They're about 2 hours from Winnipeg. They're on the roller coaster, like Brandon mentioned, for Alberta. Minnesota is pretty similar to that, where it's going to up to 20 something, down lows near zero, and that's just how it's going to be. So, Dad, there's your shout out. Okay, so here we go. Maple spam. We'll see how this is. So I got the two little waffles.
He's actually going to do it,
Bam.
folks.
I did put some butter on the waffles, but other than that, that's it.
Eating the spam with something else, it's like masking the spam. Like, shouldn't you have to just eat the spam purely, like a pure spam tasting?
The maple flavor is pretty weak, actually. Not that impressed. I'm going to go get some maple syrup for this. Anyway, that's my report. It's not bad, but the maple, like we talked about with the maple mustard, it's maple and honey. Like, just commit to it. This is, I'm not impressed with. It's not enough maple, so it gets like a 6 out of 10. It's acceptable, but not enough. All right,
not enough
so
maple to mask the spam taste.
Right. Also, I burnt it a little bit, but that's because I'm not a good chef.
Probably burning the spam would be the thing you'd want to do, so that you taste the burn more than the spam.
Yeah, maybe. Well, but I don't mind spam, honestly. Like, it's not my favorite, but I don't mind it. But the maple flavor is weak. So send me in the chat or whatever, like other Canadian staples that I can find at the grocery store here. I will give them a try on the show. I've already had cheesies. Yes, I do like cheese flavored salt. Because that's pretty much what cheesies are. No, they're great, but they're so salty.
It's the best.
So I've already had those, but send me whatever. I'm down to try it.
So, Tim, you were talking earlier in the episode about, before in the pre-show, you're talking about how evil floods are. I'd like you to kind of touch on that again.
Yeah, as compared to wildfires, I've done a lot of work with wildfires, and wildfires are very definitive. When they burn a property, they take everything. So you come back and there's not really anything left. You got a foundation and whatever's metal is managed to stay together. Floods are really give people a false impression that there's stuff to save, because often when floods happen, they don't recede for a while, so that gives them Mother Nature time to do her thing, which is warm up and grow mold. And the mold can get right up to the top of the house pretty quickly, and so it can destroy absolutely everything in your home. I was telling the story of in High River, met a fellow that he had a beer stein collection on the top floor of his house in a cabinet, and he thought it would be fine. He thought if one thing's going to be saved out of this house, that will be it. And even the mold penetrated the beer steins and ruined them in that time. I saw colors of mold I've never seen before in my life, and will never forget the smell or that waft of air that hits you. Your eyes would water immediately. So yeah, floods are really particularly evil that way, and they take a lot of time. They take weeks, as I said, sometimes, or even months to recede, to get that water out of there. So it's a really sad thing, and people have that impression. Sometimes all you can see is a little bit of a line on a house where the flood was, and it's up 6 feet. But that's if it's up 6 feet, most of the time, if it's been up that way for a while, chances are there's nothing really much to save in your home.
Both Hauk and Mark have gone to bed now, so we've lost them. They both get up at 4 a.m. Hauk, though, he's the guy. He's a machine right now. He's been broadcasting all day. We're going to come back to you in a second, Tim. Hilding Donaldson, he was up there in Grassy Plains. They had some of the last big fire stories of the year in BC were happening not too far from where he was. That's obviously not happening now. Hilding, how's the farm?
Calves will never be delicate and friendly, even though things are going pretty good here. We shipped 90 calves yesterday and didn't have any troubles. Our calves actually grew amazingly well this year compared to thinking about the drought and everything. We weren't sure if they'd be getting enough to eat, but they did. They seemed to. We had exceptionally good calves, and the market is good, so we're feeling good about that. Yeah, the last 2 weeks we've had a lot of weather where it was about down to maybe 5 degrees at night, and then it was up to 15 during the day, and shirt sleeve weather. And then the odd shower here and there. Fairly heavy showers last week. Over the weekend here, we had perfect nice weather. According to what I heard, I was up at Fort St. John, left on Friday and came back on Tuesday. And yeah, it was that way up there. When I was up there, it was amazing. It was like you got sweated up wearing a jacket. And that's kind of almost unheard of for October at Fort St. John. So, but yesterday a real cool, blustery wind came in, and kind of blowing from all directions, not just straight from the north. But it was really cold. Like the wind was cold. The temperature didn't get colder, but we could really feel it in the wind yesterday. And,
it's already at 0 degrees at this hour here in Wells.
Yeah.
0.2 Celsius.
I was just outside, and it's not freezing yet tonight here, but feels like it will later on. And it does actually feel like we've been told there's a forecast out for some wet snow now this coming weekend, and it feels like that's the type of weather it is. Like we're going to get our first wet, heavy snow that's probably going to go away right away and just make things miserable for a bit. But I mean, that's great. It's what we need this year with the drought. You know, a good soaking in snow, even if it's sloppy and wet.
Yeah. You're one of the last places still in some of the worst conditions up there. Tim, I'd like to just talk to you about your experiences in BC now. And you got a chance here to sort of, what's your messaging as well for...
Michael made it.
Oh, here comes Mike as well from Manitoba.
Mm-hmm.
Your messaging as well, what through all this experience that you've had, you feel like you want to say what the thing is that you want to give back. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think a big one I can say right now. There's a lot of distrust between people, just in general. And I think I want people to know, like, when emergencies happen, lots of people come into your community to help you out, and they're doing the best they can. And they're away from their home while they're doing it. And just know, just always make sure you're realizing that people are there with the best intentions. And we've seen a lot happening down in the States this last few weeks. That's kind of disheartening to see people forcing emergency workers out of the community, and certainly don't want to see that happening here. And but otherwise, my other message I would say is you all have an individual responsibility to get prepared for emergencies. So take the time to make sure that you are ready. And the cool part is if you get ready for the big emergencies, you'll be ready for the small ones. So if something smaller happens in your family, to your home, outside of a large devastating disaster, you've got things kind of lined up. So there's lots of tools out there to help you to get all the things ready that you need to. But I'll point one that we'll be getting more out there this next year is called the Pathways to Preparedness program, and it's with Caribou Regional District, and it's very simple steps you can take to get yourself ready. So make sure you're taking the time to get ready, and make sure your people around you know what your plan is.
Well, it's true. I know of one situation where, a fire was burning for weeks, and when it finally burnt across, one house didn't burn down, but across the way, across the water, another one did. And the one across the water maybe was under the false assumption that they were kind of safe over there. And in my mind, they didn't really take the initiative to do the work to prepare for it. And you could see for weeks, there's a fire over there. It's over there. It's probably going to come this way if it has a chance, if that's what it would like to do. And then to see afterwards them hang big signs up at their burnt property blaming the government. And that's what blows my mind.
Yeah. It's a difficult thing. I worked in a community in the last few years here that was really not happy with how the response was for fire suppression in their community. And but they also, just prior to this, had voted to not service their fire department for their community. So they had no fire department, yet they had the expectation that they would have a fire department. So it's a kind of a weird time right now, and I think that you have to step back a little bit, maybe take a step up in the sky and say, hey, am I looking at this the proper way right now, and should I be maybe considering a different view?
Yeah, people are trying their best. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And and you've had this experience, and I've had this experience where you've bumped into a lot of people who've been at this a long time. They've worked very hard. They've worked a lot of fires. They've spent a lot of time, put a lot of blood, a lot of sweat. They climbed the ranks to get to where they are because they fought to get there, fought fire, fought the elements. And they deeply care, and not just the people at the top, but then you get to the people who are a little further down, who we take it personally when we have a loss. Even people who are only on the fringe and, with their involvement, take it personally. Yeah,
absolutely. I can tell you, because I work in a role that we have a direct line with the public all the time. So one of the simplest ways is we run the phone line. So when there's an emergency and somebody's calling, you're getting me on the line. Sometimes you're getting some of my team on the line. And the stories that people tell us, we share with others. And I can tell you that there are some very difficult moments in the Emergency Operations Center when we share some of those stories. We break down. It's tough. We're all exhausted, and it hits the emotions hard when you hear some of those really heartbreaking stories that people are going through, and we're there with them. And it does, although it's hard to hear, it also gives us energy to keep going and not stopping what we're doing, and trying to help as many people as we can. It is tricky today. Mother Nature's she's angry. What I've seen over the last 20 plus years, and how the disasters are getting worse and more of them. It's hard on people, and I understand that. And it puts a lot of pressure on people. And particularly it tends to not be that nice timing for a lot of people. So, I think the biggest thing is stick together, stick with your friends, your family, your neighbors, and we can all get through it together.
Well, and I'm old enough too, where I recall, like, through the 80s and even the 90s, a disaster was kind of a, once in a rare thing. That's my perception. Hilding, do you think it was kind of like that, back in the day, where, compared to how often you hear of it now?
That's what I noticed. I mean, like when we thought of Katrina as being a great big thing, there was a once in 100 years event, and now we have two of them happening in a week. You know what I mean? It feels like there's a lot more disasters happening all over the country than
In
there
the world.
was 50 years ago. Or all over the world. Yes, Frankie, you're right. But I had a question for Tim here. I wondered, does he have any advice as to how to mend relationships where there has been a breach of trust in people that are cleaning up after a fire that don't know what they're doing? Like we had that experience here in 2018 where there was emergency crews were sent in on an emergency, okay, and they weren't prepared for the emergency. And the local people were actually more prepared than the emergency services. And then the emergency services asked the local people to leave. And it made a big, big stink in our community. And I'm just wondering if we're going to see more of these disasters, is there a way that we can find a way to deal with that type of situation and mend the brokenness?
Yeah, I'm a pretty big advocate in behind the scenes for really having a community-led response to emergencies, because I believe the community does fine doing it most of the time, and then when a disaster happens, they get a bit overwhelmed. So we need to bring in people to help. I think that I think the message for those that work emergencies out there: find the value in the community, find the people in the community that you can use, and use them to help in the overall response. What we want, obviously, is things are coordinated from one place so that we know where everybody is and everybody's safe. But I think there's got to be a respect there for people in the community. And then there also has to be that respect back from the community to those that are running the emergency. It's a two-way street, and it's important that both develop that relationship so that it can flourish and ultimately have good impact on the community. I think it is a bit of a challenge right now. There's some people that do come in with the wrong idea, and I don't like hearing people getting kicked out of places. So there are things in BC, for example, in the new emergency legislation that came in place earlier this year, that are going to start to help with that and getting more community forces organized and together for these types of situations.
It's been my perception that there's been more work being
that
done
means
that way.
Frankie videos is coming up.
I do have Frankie videos. Actually, the other screen is ready to go, Frankie. We're going to watch that in just a second.
Like that.
Here.
I like the color changing like bulbs.
We do have that in there as well. So my perception is that more effort's been made by BC Wildfire Service, for example. They came to have a community hall discussion this spring about fire smarting and preparedness here in Wells. And I talked to Sally beforehand, and he was pretty clear with me that because it was so dry, he was very concerned about, and we get so much lightning here, we were very concerned that we could have a fire situation for the first time, really ever up in Wells, when that's more than just an initial attack job, right? So that work was sort of already done ahead of time, and I feel like we're going further and further that direction. Before we do watch your videos, Frankie, I just want to say hi to Mike McGregor. He has shown up from Weather Center in Manitoba. Hey, Mike, how's it going, bud?
I'm doing all right, guys. Sorry, I've been dealing with some problems. It's good to hear. Good to see someone new on the show, and no, it's interesting hearing about some disaster stuff about natural disasters and all that. It's a cool addition on the show, Joey. I don't know if I have a chance to talk about the weather here, but do you want me to talk about the weather in Manitoba, or?
If you got 30 seconds, because I got Frankie's videos lined up to go.
Bottom line, we had a hard frost earlier this week, and we're still having, I don't know what we call this type of weather we're having lately, but we're getting summer weather in the middle of October. I see highs in the 20s again later this week. It's just been unusually warm, and I'm loving it. This it's definitely been a really warm fall, and I'm looking forward to colder weather days ahead. But I'll take it what it is. Maybe get a little bit of a late October suntan. Although I'm not going to be getting the suntan, but thanks for having me on again, Joey.
Late October sunburn, maybe.
You can check me out on Joey Only Show every Friday evenings, Atlantic time. And Joey Only Show is on the air on every Friday evenings on his YouTube channel. Joey Only Show records me on every Thursday evenings. I'm on it. You can check him out. You can watch me on Joey Only Show every Friday evenings on the YouTube channel. Caribou Weather Dude Joey Only. You can check him out on every Friday evenings. He records on every Thursday evenings. And Joey Only Show is on air on every Friday evenings on Franktown. There's a heavy snow headed towards Watson Lake, Yukon on Friday, October 18, 2024. It's going to bring 10 centimeters of snow more and cold temperatures in Watson Lake, Yukon, including on Alaska Highway. Be prepared. Be extremely careful driving and wear your winter gear, winter boots, jackets, hats, gloves, scarves, ski pants, because the snow event's headed for Watson Lake on Friday, October 18, 2024 in Franktown. Powerful storm is headed towards southern Nunavut on Friday, October 18, 2024. It's going to bring a lot of really strong winds and rain and snow, especially in Baker Lake, Nunavut. It may affect Churchill, Manitoba, where Joe Stover lives. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain and snow in northern Manitoba and southern Nunavut. It's going to bring really strong winds that can knock out power, especially in Baker Lake, Nunavut, Rankin Inlet, and surrounding areas. In southern Nunavut, there's a powerful storm is headed towards southern Nunavut. I urge everyone to wear your winter boots, jackets, hats, and gloves, scarves, and ski pants is ready. It's going to be a powerful storm in southern Nunavut. In Baker Lake, it's going to bring rain and snow on Friday, October 18, 2024. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain and snow. And somewhere in southern Nunavut, it may affect Rankin Inlet, Goji Haven, Nunavut, and the surrounding areas. It's going to bring really strong winds that can do some damage to the buildings and may knock out power and things like this in southern Nunavut. If anybody living in southern Nunavut, be prepared for a powerful storm on Friday, October 18, 2024. Take care, stay safe. Don't get caught in a powerful storm. Stay warm and dry and be safe.
Nice dresses in the window there.
This is Frankie McDonald, my own TV station. I'm live in Sydney, Nova Scotia. My dad, Frank McDonald, made his latest song on his SoundCloud. Twisted Reality on his SoundCloud, Mystic Mist. The title of his song is Twisted Reality. He played a guitar all by himself. He played lots of guitar all by himself. He recorded his own song. He wrote his own lyrics, things like this. My dad, Frank McDonald, wrote his own song, Twisted Reality. He wrote his own lyrics. He played the guitar all by himself. He mastered his own song, things like this. His song is original. This is his original song. He did a great job writing the music and things like this. Go give it a check it out. Go give it a listen for Frank Down. Here's the light bulbs that change all different colors.
There you go. Now what you got to do, Frankie, is while this is going on.
Especially people live above the Arctic Circle. Up above the Arctic Circle, like remote communities up in Nunavut territory.
Now change your lights as well at the same time.
Including remote in Svalbard, Norway, in the remote areas in Svalbard, Norway, and people up above the Arctic Circle that gets 24-hour darkness. Like Nunavut territory, Bear, Alaska, Nome, Alaska, and all those places.
So like you change your lights at the same
Lights can
time you're
change all
watching
different colors.
the video changing the lights, Frankie.
That would be great for them, including in July and August and June in Antarctica, in June, July, and August, and research stations in McMurdo Station, Palmer Station, Emerson, Scott, Silpo Station. Like the scientists and research people down Antarctic research stations. That's a great light bulb for them to change millions and millions of different colors.
Can you change your lights at the same time, Frankie?
Change millions of different colors. Especially people in remote areas like in Siberia, up above the Arctic Circle, in small little communities in Siberia, and remote areas in Siberia, in Alaska, in remote areas up in northern Alaska, like Bear, Alaska, Nome, Alaska, and all those places. That would be great for them, including offshore rig workers and offshore oil refineries and oil tanker ships and things like this, including oil tankers and cruise ships and all those other ships, like oil ships and coal boats and things like this. Those are the lights that change all different colors.
16 million different colors he's going.
It changes a lot of different colors.
So I thought it'd be funny if you could change your colors and your lights there,
These
Frankie.
light bulbs are
while your
changing all
video's
different
changing
colors.
colors.
For especially people who live up in remote communities up in Nunavut Territory, parts of Yukon and Northwest Territories, in the northern areas like Kugluktuk, Nunavut, and Iqaluit, Grise Fjord, Resolute Bay, and the surrounding communities as well, like Rankin Inlet, Nunavut, and all those places like in northern Alaska and things like this. In Siberia and in northern Finland, northern Sweden, northern Norway, including Iceland and all those places. Especially in the winter time, including southern Chile,
Vampires like
Falkland
the dark,
Islands,
Frankie.
including Stanley Falkland Islands. During the winter time in southern hemisphere, that's a great light bulbs to change all different colors.
I don't know if anybody's going to get any work done if they
That's
have those
great light
lights.
bulbs
They're
all
going to be
the time.
partying all the time.
Especially people working in remote areas like oil rigs, offshore oil rigs, oil tankers, and oil ships and things like this, and industrial ships and things like this. And Antarctic research stations like McMurdo Station, Amundsen Scott Sopo Station, and Palmer research stations in Antarctica.
Especially vampires, Frankie. Ah.
These light bulbs will change a lot of different colors. Especially people down in research stations in Antarctica, such as Amundsen Scott Sopo Station, Palmer Station, McMurdo Station, and people living up in remote communities up in Nunavut Territory, Northwest Territories, and Yukon, up above the Arctic Circle, when it gets 24-hour darkness during winter months. When it's dark 24 hours a day in the winter months up in the Arctic.
Dracula
and
likes
down
the dark,
Antarctica,
Frankie.
and things like this, including Svalbard, Norway, northern Norway, up above the Arctic Circle, northern Finland, northern Sweden, when you get a lot of darkness there during the winter time. Those are the great light bulbs. I'm Frankie McDonald.
That's a lot of colors, Frankie.
If you want to follow me on social media, my blue skies at Frankie MacD. My ex formerly known as Twitter is at Frankie MacD. My link tree is Frankie MacDonald. My Facebook is Frankie MacDonald. My Instagram is Frankie MacD94. My TikTok is FrankDonald94. My Clapper is FrankDonald94. My Twitch is FrankDonald94. My Snapchat is Frankie MacDon. My YouTube channel is Dogs and Wolves. And my LinkedIn is Frankie MacDonald. Best luck to you. I'm Frankie MacDonald. You're listening to Comedeorology Weather Report every Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Atlantic. It airs on Joey Only's YouTube channel on Friday evenings. In my time. Friday afternoons, your time.
Hey, Frankie, what's happened to the vampire? How come he's not drinking green tea so far this year?
I'll be working on it.
Yeah, what about Zorkton?
He'll be back.
Yeah, it's almost Halloween. We've seen no vampire, no Zorkton
And then I was
yet.
doing a demonstration about the light bulbs changing different colors, especially those research station workers in Antarctica and people living in remote areas up in the Arctic.
You're so transfixed with your new light bulbs that you forgot all about Zorktron.
It's the light bulbs. That means I was changing light bulbs all different colors, especially for people working in research stations in Antarctica.
Well, that's the show for this week. It's been a really good one. That's Frankie
the show.
McDonald. That's the star of the show, Frankie McDonald, up there in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Tonight's special guest is Tim Conrad from Butterfly Effect Communications. He's also got a great podcast called communicationspodcast.ca. You can find it on there. The Wildfires, Floods, and Chaos Communications Podcast. It's called communicationspodcast.ca. We had Brandon Houck, the weatherman and voice from Brooks Bandits. He's on a hockey broadcasting spree. He's doing weather. There's the guy. He's going to get 3 hours of sleep tonight. Brandon Houck is left early. So is meteorologist Mark Engels, but they were here. Mike McGregor from Weather Center, Manitoba showed up a little bit late. Then we also had Hilding Donaldson, the cowboy over there in Grassy Plains. And I am Joey Only here in Wells, British Columbia. That's the show for this week, I think, for everybody. At least that's
the show.
At least not the live stream, but that's the show, Frankie. Good night, Frankie.
And then Joey.
I gotta say it before I say goodbye, but otherwise Frankie he's just gone, and I don't get to say goodbye, Frankie. I'll miss you
That's
until
the
next week.
show.
That's the show, buddy.